Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti. Positive religion. After giving out the basic rule of religion, where you start the religious process with diagnosing the individual and then give a treatment. Now the treatment, he is dividing that into two, positive, negative. Now, positive treatment and the negative treatment. What do we do here and what do we do there? What is the basic difference between these two? So the religion starts with this idea. The basic purpose of religion, first he establishes. The purpose of religion is to guide the human to self-realization. So that's the basic purpose of religion. If you pursue religion in alignment to that, it is positive. You pursue religious disciplines, anything other than this is negative religion, to put it in a simple way. And then he is elaborating what is positive and negative religion. So now first he is explaining what is positive religion. Religion provides you the technique of discovering your supreme self within. Every step you take in life toward your union with the self would be positive religion. Your desires are responsible for the gulf created between you and the real self. Hence, you'll be practicing positive religion when you use it to eliminate your desires. The spiritual courses help you achieve this. Bhakti Yoga, path of devotion, improves the quality of desires. Jnana Yoga, path of knowledge, changes their direction. And Karma Yoga, path of action, reduces their bulk. This is the idea. What is a positive religion? When you practice this to reduce the desires, it is positive. So when you take to spiritual disciplines or when you go to religious disciplines, first idea is what? It is to eliminate my desires. The problem we face is, what is practicing Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga to do with elimination of desires? This is our issue. We get confused. We say, why are you connecting these two? Because for me to go to temple, for me to do a particular ritual, I do a ritual, whatever the ritual is, whatever the place of worship is, whatever the knowledge that you gain, any religious text you study, what is that got to do with desires? The problem is not the practicing Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga. Remember this. That's not the problem. The real problem is establishing a link between the practice and the purpose. The process and the purpose to get a link is where the problem is. It's not that you just do it automatically, the things will happen. That's not the way it works here. You just keep doing bhakti. One day you will get it. You will never get it one day. That one day will never come in your life. You see, you have to consciously establish a link between the two. That's where the whole problem of religion is. There's no problem with reference to practicing religion. Practicing is very simple. Anyone can do, and in fact, everybody is doing it in their own way. You see, everyone is practicing religion. But there is no religiosity in the world. Why? There are a lot of human beings in the world, but there is no humanness in the world. Why? Human beings are there, 7 billion. But where is humanness in that? It's not there. Why? Because we have not consciously established a link. Now, when he says you are practicing positive religion only when you have established consciously a link between the practice of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga to elimination of desires. When you establish that, then it becomes a positive religion. And then he goes on to explain what is Bhakti Yoga, what is Jnana Yoga, what is Karma Yoga. And each yoga plays a specific role. Remember, we have seen all this in detail earlier. So, he is only restating the whole thing, reiterating the whole idea. He is not giving out any new idea here. He's just, recollecting the things here. So it says Bhakti Yoga improves the quality of desires. There are 3 problems we face with reference to desires. 1, too many desires. Numbers are many. 2, the existing number of desires were of very poor quality. And if at all you have any quality desires, a little quality desires you try to think of, immediately that is also only with reference to the lower, not higher. So the whole thinking is happening, whole effort is happening in these 3 areas. What is the effort? To reduce the bulk is a different effort. How do you improve the quality is a different effort. How do you change the direction is a different effort. This is what Vidyaranya gives. He says the spiritual path is like a bird, he says. Bird takes off. How? With its wings and the tail. We don't see the tail immediately. We can see the wings. Like they say, the cheetah has a tremendous speed. That acceleration you can see, but hardly we look at the tail. If you clip the tail of the cheetah, it loses its speed. It loses its balance. Look at the way it balances. The balancing happens only because of that long tail. The same way, the birds fly. It is the tail that gives a direction. And the 2 wings, flapping those wings, it flies. So Vidyaranya compares that. He says, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is like 2 wings. And the tail is the Jnana Yoga, he says. Jnana Yoga gives a direction. Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga deals 2 aspects, 2 problems of the desires. 1, quantum, another one, quality. Reduce the quantum, increase the quality. Now, how do you increase the quality? Practice Bhakti Yoga, he says. And by the practice of Karma Yoga, you reduce the quantum of desires. So spiritual religion, when you say it has to be in connection with the desires. If it is not connected to handling your desires, you are not religious at all. So that is the problem, he says. The whole issue with reference to religion today we have is we don't have that connection here. The problem is we perform, but there is no direction. The effort is there, but there is no direction. And you keep on practicing, and you practice for a long period of time, and then you do not enjoy, you do not reap the benefits of the practice. So what do you say? This practice is of no use. This is a useless one. Why? Because I have been sincerely practicing all these days. I have been putting that effort. Like many of you may even say that, I've been attending your class. This is 110th class or something here itself, Vedanta Treatise. You say, 110 lectures I have attended yours. What has happened to me? Nothing has happened to me. Therefore, what? I tell them, forget about you. What has happened to me is the worry. Why? You don't get the benefit. Therefore, what do you say? You give the goals. You say, no point in continuing this practice. And then you start blaming the discipline. After that, what do? You switch over to the next one. Like the bee says, it trimmed the flight in another way, it says. Halfway through, he simply switched over to another direction. Why? Because the desired effort does not come about. Therefore, we start blaming the practice. The problem is not the practice, please. The problem is to keep to the right direction. What is the right direction? Reduction of desires is the right direction. So the practice of karma bhakti jnana, done engaging your body, mind and intellect. So through the body you practice karma yoga, through the mind you practice bhakti yoga, through the intellect you practice jnana yoga. Now through these practices, what you are supposed to do? Now we say, Ishwaran, I am not interested in this reduction of desires, this, that, and all that. All that I want to do is what I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to do the ritual, right? I'll do it. I like to go to this temple. I go to the temple and I do one puja there, or whatever I do there. The places of worship. I'm supposed to pray. I do my prayers. In fact, that is where the fellow becomes, very, very philosophical. Suddenly he says, see, I go to the temple. I don't ask anything from God. I simply go there, stand, stare at him, come back. And he thinks he is very, very highly evolved person. You don't even know what to ask him. Not that you don't have anything to ask. Remember, you see, you don't know what to ask him. It's like if you are getting a meeting with the private meeting with the Prime Minister, let's say, and he says, what do you want, man? Is there anything that I can do for you? What are you going to ask him? Just imagine, no? What will you ask? My return ticket is not confirmed. Can you get it confirmed? That's all you can ask. You don't know what else to ask. See, beyond a point, we don't know what to ask those people. beyond a point, you would not know what to ask him. See, if you are going to have a meeting, let's say, with Beethoven, okay, you wanted to go and Beethoven has come in to have a meeting with you. Let's say that your appointment is for half an hour, 1 hour meeting with him. What will you ask? How would you take that conversation? Shakespeare, Einstein. See, you will not know what to ask those people. Now here you go to God, you don't even know what to ask him. See, and you stand there and stare and come back blank, you think you are evolved. It's not evolution, please. That is total ignorance. To establish that link. Suppose if you say, why I have to work on the reduction of desires? Ishwaran, I am not working on the reduction of desires. I am attending your classes, I am doing this, I am doing that, whatever you say. Any religious discipline that you can go, any religious places you can go, whatever you do. I'm not doing all that for reduction of desires and all that. If you are not working for the reduction of desire, what are you doing then? In your life, if you are not working towards reduction of desires, then you are working towards what? Remember, you are working towards increasing desires. There is no such thing as maintaining status quo in life. In every dimension of life, either you are improving or you are deteriorating. In your language, either you are becoming richer day by day or you are becoming poorer day by day. There is no such thing called maintaining your status. If you are not consciously working to become richer day by day, what are you becoming? Poorer day by day. No one has to come and tell you that. The only difference is what? How obviously you can see it. The visibility of that will be happening little later. That's about it. Otherwise, if you are not working to become richer, you are working to become poorer. If you are not working to become successful, you are working to become a failure. There are only two things in life. Either you are a success or you are a failure. There is no in between. I'm just, running. That means what? Slow deterioration. It is happening so slow, so subtle, you don't have the eyes to see it. That's about it. But just because you are not seeing it doesn't mean it is not happening. It is happening. What is happening? Your desires are getting increased day by day. If your desires are getting increased day by day, then you are not into religion at all. So first, you have to get into religion. When do you get into religion itself? Only when you are working on a step that you take. Every step you take in life to unite with the self. Union with the self is not happening because of the disturbance or the obstruction of the desires. It is the presence of desires that is causing the obstruction. Therefore, what you do? Eliminate the desires. If you are not eliminating the desires, you are thickening the desires. That's about it. Our problem is, what desire I have to eliminate? If you are a very sincere fellow, first question you will ask yourself is that. Desire illiye. Yeah, of course, few things are there, but those are not desires, those are needs, That's all necessities of life. Remember, what you call as a need is called a desire. See, whatever you call as a need, that is why it varies from person to person. See, one person says, all that I need is what? 12,000 rupees. Another person says, all that I need is 25,000 rupees. Another person says, I just need at least you need 1 lakh, no? Your desires is what is creating the need for you. Whatever you believe that you need in life is called desire. But always we compare that with somebody else. See, how we analyze in life is we always bring in an external factor. Why that fellow needs 27-story house? All that you require is 2.5. 2.5 bedroom is enough, no? Why do you need? Who decides that? If you were to check with your maid the house, she will say what? Why do you need 2.5, man? In that 2 rooms should be having AC. A hall, I don't need AC. Hall doesn't require AC, but bedroom needs AC. So you have what? Two rooms, AC. And the luxury would be what? To add in the study room also to have an AC. That half bedroom also to have AC is a luxury. The person says just to have a hut itself is a luxury. Says, now who is the standard? Now who decides it? Your desires decide it. Remember, who decides the need? Your desires decide the need. And for everyone, that desire will appear justified. That is why none of us want to work on that. We feel fully justified in entertaining that desire. Why? Because the desire has taken a form of a necessity, a need. It has convinced you completely that how can you live without it? What is life without it? It is not possible. Therefore, it is. That is why it could be a relationship, it could be an object, it could be anything. But it is a necessity, right? Since you feel it is a necessity, the desire goes on surviving. It will never allow you to work on it. And it will do all sorts of things. It will say what? What is reduction? Why do you have to work on the reduction of desires? You can look in to today. Search. How many people today talk in the field of religion that you are recommended to do this particular ritual to reduce the desire? You are recommended to go to the temple to reduce the desire. You are recommended to study the text, gain this knowledge to reduce the desire. To work on that desire, you need. If you hear anything, pass it on to me. If you hear anyone speaking anywhere, you have to meditate. Why do you have to meditate? What is, you have to increase your awareness. For what? Do pranayama. One fellow asked me, what do you recommend us to do pranayama? I said, of course, do pranayama. What is wrong in it? Do it. There's nothing wrong in that. But if you are going to be doing pranayama, all that is going to happen is what? Your life will get elongated. With an elongated life, what are you going to do? Okay, you are going to live another 10 years, let's say. By elongating the 10 years, what are you going to do? This is what Ashirvada mantra also they say. Shadhamanam bhavati shtayat purush. Shatendriya ayush. Yes. You live for long period. 100 years you live. For what? Okay, you live for 100 years. What are you going to do in that 100 years? Increase few more desires. That's all you are going to do. For that, you are going to be elongated and then suffer. Why this is connected to desires? That is the catch. That's why first line itself he establishes that. First point he establishes that the goal, the purpose is to realize. And what is not allowing that to happen today is the presence of desires. Therefore, first step in you is to knock off the desires. Because just now he said, what is religion? A systematic approach. So if I have to reach there, this is obstructing. So first step has to be what? Eliminate the obstruction. The flow will happen automatic. Union will happen automatic. I don't have to worry about the union. Remove the obstruction, he says. The gulf created between you and God is the presence of desires. Therefore, you got to eliminate the desires. But then what happens when you have desires? A desire-ridden mind, remember this. Desire-ridden mind means agitated mind. When you have too many desires, your mind is agitated, disturbed mind. A disturbed mind is not available, will not be available for any higher practices, to pursue anything higher. A disturbed mind will never be available to pursue anything higher. Why? Follow the link carefully here. You can't simply keep saying desire is a problem, desire is a problem. What is the problem with the desires? When you have desires, the desires will cause disturbance. Fulfilled, disturbance. Unfulfilled, disturbance. All this we have seen earlier. Okay. Because when you have a desire, only two options are there. Either it gets fulfilled or it is not fulfilled. When it is not fulfilled, anger. When it gets fulfilled, more problem. It is only one problem. When your desire is not fulfilled, only one problem. Anger. When your desire gets fulfilled, what is it, sir? First problem is what? Bhaya, fear. That's why the spiritual thing they say, three things they constantly talk about. Kama, Krodha, Bhaya. Kama, desires. Not fulfilled is anger. Fulfilled, fear. Fear of what? Losing. Once you get something, instantly the fear comes of losing it. And then what? Greed for more. And then what? With people who are lower than you, arrogance. People higher than you, jealousy. See, all these problems are finally delusion, moha, confusion. All this is the disturbed state. Mind in a disturbed state. When your mind is disturbed, that mind is not available for pursuing the higher. Such a mind, if you are going to be engaging in a subtler pursuits, subtler disciplines such as meditation, you will never succeed. So what you have to do first? First work on the elimination. first make this mind not disturbed. How do you make that mind not disturbed? Not by fulfilling the desires. But then the tragedy is what? When your mind is disturbed, that mind will seek what? A disturbed mind will not seek to eliminate the desire. But the disturbed mind will seek one thing. It will not seek the higher. But then what it will seek? Disturbed mind will seek what? I'll take some little rest. A disturbed mind will seek solution. It will never seek the higher. It will seek the solution. You see, I'm agitated. Means first thing I will go for what? Hey, give me something. And that mind will go for anything. Anywhere it gets a promise of solution, it will go behind it. It doesn't matter, higher, lower, and all those things. If it believes Vedanta is the solution, it will run behind Vedanta. You see, it's so amazing to see how your mind dupes. See, you go behind that solution. You'll say, that's what I wanted in life. All that I seek in life is, how do I get that solution? Answer to my problem. And then talk about all other things. Don't talk about all that unnecessary things. Don't waste my time. So first thing you have to do is what? Give answer to me. And then let us worry about other things. So first step is what? Solution. And mark carefully, the problem is not solved here. Only from here the problem starts. Disturbed mind will go for solution, and it will find something as a solution. It could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. And once it starts believing that as a solution, step 2, next thing happens. Further development. The next stage is towards the source of that solution, whatever that mind believes as the solution, it will get addicted to that solution. It will get attached and addicted. If you think Vedanta is the solution, what will happen to you? Instead of using Vedanta to grow, you will get addicted to Vedanta. You will see, you will practice a ritual and you get addicted to the ritual. That's what is happening today in the world. You see, you are just addicted to that ritual. What is addiction? What is the meaning of addiction? Long before it gave you some kick, right? Now is it giving you any kick? No, it's not giving. It has become redundant. It has become obsolete. This religion gives various rituals, various study, various knowledge, various thoughts and ideas, various forms of gods for you to pour out your emotions, love and affection. All that is there. But once you start seeking that as a solution to your disturbance, instead of taking that to eliminate your desires, what happens? Is that positive religion, negative religion? See, you got to actually, you need to do it parallelly. Only then you get a total idea. So, when your mind starts experiencing something as a solution to my disturbances. Why? Because agitated mind will want to get rid of that agitation first. It finds one method, something it finds. It could be smoking, it could be drinking, it could be going to a temple, it could be going to an ashram and meeting a Swami or reading a book. It could be anything. Of all that, the most dangerous one is getting addicted to religion. Religious addiction is the worst order. See, the worst thing that is. All that happens, the only difference between all of us is what? Object of addiction is different for each one of us. But somewhere down the line, if you see, you get addicted to something, some personality, somewhere you get it. Now we ask the question, sir, how do I know in which area I'm addicted? Next question you ask is this. You say, yeah, okay, I'm addicted. Now, how do I know where I got addicted? What is it? Indication number one. First indication of addiction is it looks too obviously correct. Obviously, it's correct, no? Krishna is God, no? Obviously true. There, it looks too obvious for you even to question it. See, it looks too obvious. Number one. But don't take only one. See, I always recommend people for everything, keep minimum 2 or 3 points. Don't keep just 1 point and arrive at a conclusion, because there's a good chance of you missing the whole thing. Another indication of an addicted mind is a mind which is attached and addicted can never be a sacrificial mind. It cannot sacrifice. It will not do that. It will just continue operating. That's it. If you are not sacrificing, means what? You are exploiting. That's the meaning of it. Addicted mind will go on exploiting. Now you can give example. For example's sake, we will give a person who is addicted to alcohol. See, the person who is addicted to alcohol will exploit every opportunity, isn't it? He sends his kids to work instead of sending them to school. The government says, I'll give you education, I'll give you food, I'll give you clothing, books, everything will give. All that you have to do is what? Send them there. This fellow says what? No, I will send him to work. Why? Because if I get that money from him, I can drink. At least if I cannot buy the drink, I can buy urga bottle. Side dish. If not for drinks, at least for side dish, I will get that money. No. Which is called exploitation. Is he sacrificial there? You see, that's what religious addiction is. When you get addicted there, the classical sign of addiction is you can be so crude and cruel and not feel anything about it. See, that's a classic sign of addicted mind. A mind which got addicted, attached. Another word for addiction is attachment. You get attached to that particular solution. When you get attached to that solution, what are you going to become? After that, sacrifice is not possible for you. Service is not possible for you. If you are not serving, if you are not sacrificing, what are you doing? Again, go back to the basic principle. If you are not evolving, what are you doing? Devolving. So, if you are not sacrificing, what are you doing? Exploiting. If it is not serving, what are you doing? Selfishly aggrandizing things. So, what you felt as a solution to your disturbance itself becomes a source of a problem now, which can never be solved. This you cannot solve it. So therefore, what you have to do? He says, positive religion means religion practiced for the reduction of desires. How you do that? He gives 3 techniques. Why 3 techniques? Because you have 3 equipments: body, mind, intellect. With body, you perform actions. With mind, you feel emotions. With intellect, you entertain thoughts and ideas. So thinking. So using your action, using your emotions, using your thinking, how do you deal with your desires? Use your actions to reduce the quantum of desires is called karma yoga. Using your emotions to refine your desires, thereby improving the quality, is called bhakti yoga. Using your thinking to give it a higher direction, a desires towards the higher, not a desire for a solution. Don't jump in for a solution. You have a disturbed mind. Don't jump for solutions immediately. Stay with it. Let's explore what is the real source. This is where the problem is. When you stay longer with a disturbed mind, you won't even register the disturbance. Like when you walk into my house, you can experience and tell me, hey, there's some funny smell I'm getting. I am living there. I will never get it. It's not that I have got corona, please. The smelling sense is gone. Not because of that. If you live with me for another 1 week, you will also not register that. You know that? Science says, whatever be the size of your nose, whatever you see in the world, your nose is visible to your eyes. But have you ever registered your nose? You say, why? Because constantly, if you are going to be registering the nose, it is a disturbance. So therefore, what the mind, it says, clip off that. Why keep on registering that? Take it out of equation so that you can enjoy other things. So this, if you stay for a long period, so the mind, that mind which is disturbed, what it has to do, sir? First thing, it has to gain this basic knowledge. That's what he said in the previous one. Ignorance is the problem. Knowledge is the solution. What is that knowledge? This is the knowledge. What is it? Presence of desires will agitate my mind. That agitated mind will have a tremendous temptation to seek solution instead of going back to the source. This change of direction Instead of going forward, go backwards. Instead of going for a solution to the problem, Jnana Yoga will say, go towards dissolving the problem. Not a solution, dissolution of a problem. You don't get a solution for the problem. Problem is dissolved. So what it does, it starts going in search of the root of the problem. What is the root of the problem? It is the presence of the desires. And then what it also recognizes, that desires, effort to fulfill the desires is not going to be a fruitful effort at all, because no desires can be fulfilled. By definition, desires cannot be fulfilled. Your mind can never experience that state of fulfillment, even if you get your desire fulfilled. You get a desire to have ice cream. You fulfill that desire. Have you experienced a fulfillment? No. Next desire comes and says, now fulfill this. Next desire comes and says, now fulfill this, now fulfill this, now fulfill this. Why? What is the root of all desires? All desires are going towards fulfillment, which means essentially you feel unfulfilled. And any number of attempts that you have made in the past should make you realize by now that all my attempts to experience that fulfillment through fulfilling the desires had been a miserable failure. Therefore, let me take a U-turn. This is what Jnana Yoga is all about. Don't say Jnana Yoga is intrinsic illusion, extrinsic illusion, that is also. But essentially that is not. This is essential Jnana Yoga. So this is the basic knowledge, he says. You gain that basic knowledge. Desires cannot be satiated through pursuing the desires. So what I have to do? Go backwards. That desire can be overcome. The ignorance which is the cause of the desires can be overcome through the knowledge. Therefore, let me pursue knowledge is Jnana Yoga. That's what he's explaining. Bhakti Yoga is the course of devotion, where your mind surrenders to the Supreme Being that seems to hold the world together. When your feelings raise from the secular to the sublime, the thoughts engrossed in the affairs of the world get gradually displaced by the thought of divinity. The change in the quality of thought helps to eliminate your mundane thoughts and desires. Jnana Yoga is the course of knowledge which maintains the thought of the supreme reality in all transactions of life, wherein the intellect keeps the mind focused on the eternal while it is engaged in the ephemeral world. As a result, the direction of thought shifts from the finite world to the infinite self. Here again, your very thoughts get slowly absorbed into the one powerful thought of reality, and your thoughts and desires pertaining to the world drop off. Karma Yoga is the course of action dedicated to a higher ideal beyond your self-centered interest in life. The highest ideal being self-realization. The mind is fixed on the ideal. The intellect directs all actions towards the attainment of the ideal. Consequently, the thoughts and desires for the world do not sustain themselves. So that's what he gives. He explains what is Bhakti Yoga, what is Jnana Yoga, what is Karma Yoga. Now he is establishing a principle on which all the three works. There is a basic principle. There is a thread connecting all three. Essentially, the principle is one. Anything grows by you feeding it. Your desires are growing while you are feeding it. Your ideal to realize the self is not growing while you are not feeding it. You see, you are not inspired by the goal of realization. Why you are not inspired by the goal of realization? You have not fed that. See, one student is inspired by the thought of doing IAS. Another person is inspired by the thought of music. Another person is inspired by the thought of science. Another person inspired and he pursues sports. So one fellow is going sports, another person is going towards science, another person is going towards music, another person is going towards IAS. Why the difference? What if you see what this IAS fellow doing? You see, he is constantly entertaining the thought of what? IAS. IAS. All that he will be reading. If you see his browser history, you see, all that you have to do is, people ask me, how do I know what is my Swadharma? Check your browser history. Will know your Swadharma. Simple. You see. Look into your YouTube. What all YouTube is recommending to you will show what is your field of interest. So this fellow constantly thinking of this, therefore he is pursuing it. Why he is not pursuing music? Because he has not been thinking about it. One day a thought will come. A lot of people would have experienced it. You can add your own examples. You would have met lot of people, halfway through their life they had switched over to something else. Why? What happened to them at that point? Some thought entered, and then what did they do? They started seeing more and more and more of it, more of it, more of it, more of it. More and more feeding that thought has happened in them. Therefore, they started pursuing that. The law of life is this. Whatever you feed, it grows. If you feed your desires, it will grow. If you starve your desires, it will die. If you feed your ideal, it will grow. If you starve your ideal, that will die. Now, in this practice of karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, in these disciplines, what are you doing? You are starving the worldly thoughts and feeding the thought of divinity. Thereby what happens? The desires for the world drops off and the desire for this keeps growing. So what is positive religion? This is positive religion. Starving this and feeding that. Starving desires, feeding the ideal, feeding your conviction, feeding your inspiration. Conviction, inspiration, ideal is all same thing. Okay, keep changing the words. Into different contexts, we use different words. That's about it. Are you feeding what you are convinced about? That is a quick question. In the class, you are convinced. What? Desire is a problem, sir. The moment you close the book, what happens? Moment you say, we'll meet in the next class. Hari Om, thank you. What happens? After that, are you really convinced on that? Are you feeding that conviction? When you go to the temple, you are so inspired. When you are listening to that bhajan, you are so inspired. That too, first time, isn't it? That's why we go to different temples. The inspiration that you get in going to different temples is more than the inspiration that you can derive from going back to the same temple again and again and again. Why? You get neutralized. You get neutralized to the temple environment. You go to the ashram. First time you go to the ashram, it looks so divine. You stay there for a few weeks and then talk about it. Is it divine place? My God, I thought all divine people. Only now I understand how all Rakshasas there. How egoistic, what a fight, what arrogance, what this. Oh my God, they are really bad. Why? It's so interesting to see. The variety gives you, isn't it? It is a variety. You can't get inspiration from the same. As I say, see, for 65 years, a man to keep on repeating every time he says mind. Same definition. Mind is made up of feelings, emotions, thought, impulses. All this indiscriminate thoughts is called mind. Intellect is that which thinks, reasons, judges, analyzes. Discriminated thought. That's called intellect. 65 years to repeat the same thing. That's why a lot of people say, you feel, no, I've heard him already. Why? That's why today we want what? Different things. You see, the moment you go for different things, that looks so inspiring to you. Why? Because your mind is seeking variety. As you see people taking up projects also. First 5 years, they'll talk about blind people. We are going to be taking care of blindness. And then suddenly they'll switch over to what? Now what are you doing now? Suddenly he says, now we are going to be working on cow protection. And suddenly after some time they will say, we are going to be working on another project. Another project. In 20 years, if you see, a person would have taken up 20 projects. You see, I'm not saying you should not take 20 projects, but what is the psychology behind it? Your incapacitation to stay with one is the problem. Why? Because that will no longer inspire you. It will not inspire you. That's the tragedy of life. See, your mind will never allow you to get inspired by doing one thing consistently. See, if at all you start doing one thing, instantly you will convert that into mechanical. That's why Vedanta is the only field which has the courage and conviction to say this. Every time there is, mechanical. You have made everything mechanical. Rituals have become mechanical today. Remember, it is not the ritual that has become mechanical. You see, the Yajaman who is performing the ritual, he is mechanical. And that fellow, wherever he goes, he will do mechanical. I'm not talking about mechanical engineering. Oh, this you are talking about mechanical. It's not mechanical engineering, please. Wherever you go, anything you do, you will convert mechanical. What is mechanical? You don't consider, is it relevant or not? You see, you don't consider that at all. What is the relevance of it? In what way that is connected? We don't consider that at all. Sir, you have read Ramayana, Mahabharata and all that, no? if not the original. At least you have read the stories, you have heard from people, right? Is there any Purana, is there any part of Ramayana or Mahabharata where it is stated that Rama went to the temple, Krishna visited this temple, Parashurama went to the temple? Forget about these fellows. At least, anyone. No. Can you believe there was a time once in this country, religion existed without temples? That's why, Western mind cannot understand that. They say, how is it possible? How can religion exist without temple? But one thing you will find, all of them did one thing. What is it? Rituals. Rama did a ritual, Krishna did a ritual, Yudhishthira did a ritual, Karna did a ritual. Why? Even Ravana did a ritual. Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu did rituals. Rituals were dominating the whole thing. Over a period of time, ritual lost its relevance. So what did they do? They shifted from rituals to temples. This is being authentic in religion. Being mechanical is, even though it has become outdated and it has lost its relevance, you continue doing it. That's called a mechanical. That is called addiction. That is called attachment. We perform actions. Actions are, instead of dedicating the actions, we are getting addicted to action, addicted to those rituals. Addictions have happened. Why? That's what is mechanical is all about. You just keep doing it, even though it is done. And it is only Vedanta which has the courage to say, it is not the ritual that is wrong, man. It is you who is performing the ritual is wrong. The performer is wrong. This nobody will want to hear that. Will say what? So something wrong with the ritual, something wrong with the temple, something wrong with this, something wrong with that. Say something wrong with anything other than me. If you can put a blame on government, well and good. That is also dangerous. Why? Government can sue you. How dare you talk about me? Therefore, what to do? Put the blame on gods, where those poor fellows will not come and file a case on you. What do you say? Graha dosha. This Vastu Purusha is very angry with you. You'll say. And then you say what? You let me do one. Let me also do that. No. Why? Unnecessarily the problem is. Let me do one. Vastu Parihara also. And then another fellow comes and says, what, sir? Naga, this is a problem, that is a problem, your horoscope is a problem, gods are angry with you. One fellow came and told me this. Said, sir, I am told, these gods are very angry with me, it seems. What should I do? I said, if somebody is angry with you, what are you supposed to do? You go to the temple and do the parihara, whatever they say, come back. Now, how long you are supposed to do that? Sir, you come and gain this knowledge. How long you are supposed to gain this knowledge? How long you are supposed to attend the class? Till you go mad completely, or you die, or I should die, or I should go mad. More mad I go, better it will be for you. Better and good entertainment. So that option is ruled out. So, how long you are supposed to study? How long you are supposed to write CA exam? Till you pass, you have to keep writing the exams. That's all. Till that God's anger subsides, you have to keep doing the ritual. Now, how many times if you do that, God's anger will subside? That they will not say. Okay, now I have to do. Now immediately you say, what you have to do? 1,000. See, when Bhishma gave the 1,000 names for God, Vishnu Sahasranama, people chant now. Vishnu Sahasranama. What does that mean? I'm not saying what is the meaning of Vishwam, Vishnu, Vasakaro, and all that. I'm not asking about that. Is it he gave in Sanskrit language 1,000 names to God. Why he gave 1,000 names to God? Because the essential dimension there is that the crux is this. Remember, the crux is his love to that God is so much so, it cannot be contained in one name. Calling him by one name is not enough. Therefore, what he has to do? Give 1,000 names. Isn't it? Now, today, we have no love towards God. But what are you doing? Memorizing the 1,000 names and keep chanting. And you take a big pride also on that. I can chant, this 1,000 names of this, 1,000 names of that. And you believe you are doing something religious. You believe that is bhakti. So bhakti is to have that emotion. Now, lacking that emotion, you have. Because when you have love, more names will come. Now, my love is only this much. Not to God alone. My love towards my daughter. I could manage only giving her 17 names. By the age of 9, I had about 17 names for my daughter. Apart from her official name. These are nicknames. Why? So much of love. When you have so much of love, you keep calling them in different ways. When you are lacking love, what you do? You shrink the name. Jaya, J. You can't even J, Ya. Only 2 letters it is. See, Ja and Ya is all there is. That also has to shrink. Hello, J. Why? No love. When you lack love, you will shrink everything. When you have love, you will want to expand everything. See, that's what Bhagavad Gita is. It is a song. You say, Gita, song. Song is what? It is a poetry, love affair between Arjuna and Krishna. All that Arjuna asked is what? Should I fight or not? 700 shlokas for that? All that he is asking is, should I fight or not? Tell me. That also that man made it so explicitly clear. What? Tad ekam vada nischitya. Say one thing conclusively. One statement conclusively. Fight, not fight. Yes or no? Answer. Yes or no answer cannot be 700 shlokas. Why? That's called love. Love magnifies. It magnifies that. That's the basic emotion. Lacking that affection, you memorize the 1,000 names and go on repeating. What is that? That is called a mechanical. Follow? You say mechanical. Now we wonder, mechanical, sir. We are practicing karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. You do all these things. Your study is mechanical. Your bhakti is mechanical. Your karma is also mechanical. Everything has turned mechanical. Why? Nothing wrong with karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. Problem is with you, the practitioner, the one who is following. He turns everything mechanical. So how do you avoid that? Avoiding that mechanicalism is possible only by you establishing a link with the purpose and keep reminding yourself. You remind that through karma is karma yoga, through devotion, emotion, bhakti yoga, through ideas and thinking, that is called jnana yoga. So all three has a thread. What is the thread? In whole thing, you are feeding what? You are not feeding the affection that you have towards the world. You are feeding the affection towards your Ishtadevata. Some deity, some god. Whatever you personify. You can take it as a person, or you can take it as a deity, whatever it is. You can take to anything. You start pouring out all your emotions towards that deity. You take every decision in life based on the reference point is the deity. That's why even those people who are so used to having meat and smoke and drink and all that, the moment those fellows put on that mala, that vrata he starts taking for Shabbarimala, 48 days, what happens? It's fascinating to see. I have seen, my friends, a fellow cannot have a normal conversation without, good words. Every sentence of his will start with a good word and end with a good word. Right? And he cannot live without, meat. Smoking, drinking is, there's no, completion at all, he says. He says, you should have a smoke, have a drink, and then one piece, 65, one piece he has to have. Then it is complete. You have only one, it's of no use, he says. You have only smoking, waste. Only drinking, waste. Have only this, waste. You should mix all three together. You can really enjoy all three. Otherwise, you cannot. That fellow, next day morning, previous evening, that fellow had it. Next day morning, suddenly he puts it on, he says what? After that, anyone he meets, everyone he starts addressing as Swami. All the good words gone now. How? The affection that he has towards that deity. He feels it is offensive to that deity. The deity doesn't like it. The deity will not like him doing these things. Therefore, what? He will not. He wants to have a good certificate, conduct certificate from the deity. Now, whose certificate you want? It's pure emotion only. There is no logic there. There is no rationality. There's no meaning behind it. If you analyze, there's no meaning behind it. Sheer this, he develops a tremendous check over his desires, over his agitations, over all these lower impulses. That is called bhakti, practicing. Right? So the thread is this: whatever you feed sustains, grows. Whatever you're not feeding loses its vitality, dies. It could be desires, it could be ideal. The principle is same. We'll see in the next class.